Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Freedom Johnson, and this video right here I'm going to be showing you guys how to fill out a TREC contract whenever you're wholesaling. I'm going to be talking about the seller's contract, that's a TREC one, the buyer's contract, that's a TREC, and the assignment contract as well. What are some of the things I put in there, along with some other things that you might need. So I think this video is going to be really helpful, because I did one about 2 years ago, but I want to update it up to 2020, put some new information in there as well. So you guys check out this video, subscribe, like, comment. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to be sending, below is going to be a few links of where you can get some of these contracts at yourself, instead of you having to always try to wonder where you get these things at. So I think this is going to be really helpful for you guys, how to fill out this Texas real estate contract when you're wholesaling the property. Y'all stay tuned to the video. I'll see you soon.
Hey guys, what's going on? So let's just dive right into it. We're going to start with the seller's contract, where you can get some of this information, or where you can get all this information. And we're going to start with the contracts that I actually use when I'm wholesaling. So you're going to get that seller's contract, the assignment, and the buyer's contract, some other things that you may need, and just to inform you on the whole process. So you're going to get a lot. So be prepared to stop and pause and hit rewind a few times if it's something that you miss or you need to catch, because it's going to be pretty detailed. So let's dive right into it. All right, so this right here is the Texas contract, and if you need to know where to get those, just look in the show notes below, right under show more. It's going to have some links over there to take you directly to the website. So let's start with the beginning. As soon as you get the contract, the seller, they sign right here. So where this guy's name is at, this is where he puts his name, or you can fill it out. I'm typically like a concierge service, so I do all the heavy work for them. They just put the initials down. So seller's name goes on that first line right here, hence that seller right there. Now the second line, this is where you put your company name or your own name. It does not matter if you have an LLC or not. You're just beginning, so don't fret over that. Just get started. My first few contracts had my name on it. So right here is where you put your name, and or assigns. That and or assigns is super critical, because it is telling yourself and the title company and the seller that you might be assigning this contract. So that your name and or assigns goes on buyer. Now this next part, where you see the lot, block, all this, how do you find that information out? Well, and this one was in Dallas County. So let's go to Dallas County, plug in that address, so I can show you how we found that lot and block information, because you need to fill that out. Alright, so here we are right here, dallascad.org. Page looks like this, and what we are going to do is go to search appraisals. As soon as we click search appraisals, it's going to take me directly to here, and what I am looking for is by address. So I'm going to click in that address, under address, type in the name of the sellers, the address of the house, number of the address, and then I'm going to put in that street. I'm just going to hit search. Search is going to take me directly to it under here, and right under here I'm going to click onto it so I can find that lot and block information. So as soon as I get the lot and block, as soon as I hit that, you can see where the lot and block information is. So lot 26, block A. So we go back to our contract and we put lot 26, block A. Oh, I see we had block 5 on that one. It's crazy. We wholesaled that house and we had the address name, had the block wrong. Tarrant County, Dallas County says it's lot 26, block A. So you'd be putting that right there. And then the addition, which is basically the subdivision of an area. Let's go back to the Dallas CAD and find. So right here under legal description 1, that tells you the subdivision. Howard U. Freeman 5. So on your TREC contract, you'll be putting that in. So we go right back to it. Howard U. Freeman 5. Obviously it's Dallas County, so we put the Dallas, and then Texas known as. This is where you put the full address right there. So we fill out the full address right there. Whatever price you negotiated with the seller. If you told the seller you're going to buy it from them for $47,000, and that's the number you put on the cash portion, and then you put it at, which is under 3A, and then under 3C you put that number again. So don't overthink it. I told you this is the amount that I'm buying it for. So this is the cash amount. That's the whole total of it. So then we come right here. If you are a license holder and you're wholesaling properties, put that in. So for me, I don't think this one was like 3 years ago. I didn't have my license back then, so I didn't put it there. But I am a realtor right now, so I do those now. Earnest money. I put 10 to 100 bucks down. So what I do is you'll be writing out a check, and it'll say paid to the order of, and it'll actually have Texas title or whatever title company you're going to be using, and then the price is 100 bucks. And then the memo you put is earnest money for whatever the address is. So the next part, as money to, that's who the title company is. For me, I like to put the title company and the escrow agent's name. The next line, you'll be putting their full address, and then additional earnest money, you leave that blank. To the escrow agent, for however many days, you leave that blank as well. So what this is saying right here is I'm going to give this title company $100 check at this address, 3 days, within 3 days once we get this contract signed. Title policy. Who's going to pay for the title? I see on this one, I negotiated for them to pay for title, but typically as a wholesaler, 99% of the time, you're going to be putting an X here where you're going to be paying for the title company, for the title policy. And then right here, you put the name of that same title company right there. So these two should be matching on title policy and as earnest money too. Should always have the same title company. Your initials go because you're the buyer, and then the seller's initials go. And I do this all DocuSign. Next line is going to have the address. This is going to be on every page, so always put that full address at the top for every single page of this contract. And then where I come down to things in the title, will they be amended and all that, I always say they will not be amended. Then we go to commitment and survey. So I'm not pulling the survey whenever I'm wholesaling these houses, so I put NA. So NA goes not available for all these three right here. Any objections? Buyer may object in any writing to defects, encumbrances on title and all that. I put NA, leave that blank as well. Remember, this is a quick and dirty explanation, but this applies because these things are going to be needed if you're doing a bank loan to buy a house. But since we're doing a cash wholesaling transaction, not available, they don't apply to this particular transaction. So the next part we come down to is, this is going to be important. E2 says membership in property owners association. What that means is if the house is in an HOA area, then you'll need to get another addendum for that. This property was not. I'll talk about if the property is in an HOA, where that is. That'll be in the show notes as well, where you can get that too. All right. So initials are going to be for every single page as well. My initials right there, seller's initials. Next page, same thing. Top of the line should have the top of the contract should have the address. None of this applies to us for this particular property. Initials again. Here we are on page 4, same thing. Address goes to the top. Property condition. This part is important. Property condition. 7, property condition. 7B is a seller's disclosure. A seller's disclosure, you need to say if you have received it or if you have not. I always say I have not received it, and the reason why I do this is because I want them to fill out the seller's disclosure. What is the seller's disclosure? It's basically, hey, Mr. Seller, hey, Ms. Seller, to the best of your knowledge, what do you know about the condition of this house? And let's go right to that seller's disclosure before we finish this out to actually show you what they'll be filling out or what you'll be filling out. This is a seller's disclosure right here. So you can get this, show notes, send you the link directly to it as well. So this is the seller's disclosure, and this is where they basically give a breakdown on paper of the best of their knowledge of the house. So this one, how long it was unoccupied. This house was unoccupied for 15 years. The property has the item check below. Do you know the condition of the range, which is the stove? No. Do you know the condition of the dishwasher? No. Does it have a washer dryer? Yes. What about the security system? No. That's all it is. So these are just asking questions of your knowledge. If the seller does not know, then they're going to put a U for unknown. Okay? That's really all it is. And it is 3 pages long, and they put their signature there, and they put their date, and that's it. And then I put mine there, and I give that to the buyer. So let's go back. Now that we've talked about the seller's disclosure under 7B, I put no for this property and told them they need to get it within 7 days. I like to do my transactions like a concierge service, so when I go to that seller, I have all these documents up now in 2020. I have all these documents, and I'm filling these things out as I'm going through the house after we do the contract. So here's another thing. Seller's disclosure of lead-based paint. If the house is older than 1978, then you need a lead-based paint seller's disclosure, and I'll show you what that looks like. Here's the seller's disclosure for the lead-based paint if the house is older than 1978. So you'll be filling out the address right here, and honestly, it's all this. They always fill out the same information. Under B1B, seller has no actual knowledge of lead-based paint. Under B2B, seller has no reports or records of if there's any lead-based paint. And then all this, you keep this blank because this is if you were getting a bank loan, or if you really felt you were at risk, you could do that. I'm wholesaling, so the buyer knows about this as well, so I send him this as well. They put their signature and their date. It's just 1 page. All right, so let's jump back to the contract. All right, so now we're moving past if the house is 1978, what addendum you need. So we've already done that. So here's the next one. Under D1, buyer accepts property as is. Always check that because that's what you're doing. You're buying the property as is. That's kind of self-explanatory there. Initials right there again. Contract concerning. Always put the address. We're on page 5 now. Residential service contract. What is this? This is if you're asking for a home warranty because you're not doing a bank loan, or because you're not asking for a home warranty. You're not owning the property, so you put 0 there. Now, closing date. So you want to put the closing date. Man, this was almost 3 years ago. It's crazy. So closing date, self-explanatory. What day you plan on closing. Possession. 10A. You're going to be taking possession of the property upon closing. And then there are situations whenever you'll be paying and you'll do a wholesale transaction, but they need like 2 weeks in or a month in the property before they move. If that's the case, you'll be signing right here. You'll be doing a temporary lease, and you can find that on TREC as well. Let's dive into 10. Yeah, here we go. So we're done with that. Let's just go to 11, special provisions. I'm going to show you a few different pages because depending on the situation, I'm putting specific information to protect myself. So under this property, we didn't have any special provisions. So let's actually go to one where I actually put in some special provisions. What I'm doing in 2020 to protect myself so that you can protect yourself as well. All right, so 2020, this is what I'm putting under special provisions. Seller will take desired items from home before closing. Buyer accepts property as is current condition. Buyer will pay all closing costs except any judgment liens and proration of taxes. Survey is optional upon buyer's request. You see, start to follow the pattern how I'm putting these things in to protect myself that are not normally in a contract. Closing to happen on or before the date listed in paragraph 9, which is what we talked about earlier. Buyer has an assignable contract. I started putting that in as well as I have and or assigns in the top of the contract because some title companies want to see that you actually told the buyer you have the right to assign it. So I started putting that in. Here's another one. This protects me so much because a lot of times title work may not come back complete before the closing date. So this is how this gives me unlimited amount of time to have control over wholesaling this property. This last sentence right here. If title work is not complete by date listed in paragraph 9, then closing will happen within a 30-day period after all the title work is completed. So powerful right there, guys. So powerful. So, all right, so let's dive back into our original contract. Settlement and other expenses, nothing there. That's more for a retail deal right there anyway. And then contract concerning, same thing. address. You're not putting in any information. These pieces right here. And then 21 notices. Your company name. This was the address I was living at the time. Phone number that I had at the time, all that. Your email. Then you're going to be putting their name. I typically, when I DocuSign, I have them sign their name, their phone number, and the email. What this is telling is you're letting the title company know who they need to be contacting, if they need to send any documents, who they'll be sending it to. Because the property that we talked about, if it's 1978 or older, some of these other addendums that you'll be having, where's it at? This one right here, addendum for seller disclosure, lead-based paint. That's if the house is 1978 or older. If the house is in an HOA, you'll be having that addendum as well. So the contract will be, you have a couple more documents if that's the case. So then we go back to this one, termination option, part 23. I did 0 on this. Typically, I do about somewhere between 10 and $100 on the option fee. So remember, the earnest money is going to the title company, but the option check is going directly to the seller. So on your earnest money, how you wrote, paid to the order of, Texas Title, you're going to be writing out a second check. That option is going to be going to Paul Harris. So I wrote a check to Paul Harris, and under the memo, I put option period. So I had this one for 15 days. What this means is I've got 15 days to go inspect that house and decide if I want to actually close on this house, wholesale it, or not. So option period is where your strength is, and special provisions is where your strength is right there. That's where you've got a lot of control. There are no attorneys. And then right here, executed, the date, your signature, their signature, your name below. What you're then going to be doing is you're going to be emailing or driving directly, sending that over to the title company. The title company, once they receive it and acknowledge it, they're going to fill this part out. The earnest money, they're going to show that the earnest money was received at the title company, and then the option fee, that part will be signed by the seller. Okay, so I typically bring my option check the day that I'm coming to talk to them, so I just have them sign that immediately with the date and all that. If that home is in a HOA, this is the addendum for the HOA, and you'll be putting the address right here, and then the name of the homeowners association. So me being a realtor, I can look on the MLS and find out the name and the number of that homeowners association. If you're not a realtor, you don't have any realtor friends, call one of your realtor friends and find that out, because I honestly don't know any other way than using the tool belt that I have, which is being an agent, to get that filled out. And then you put your signature and the seller's signature there. So now we're going to dive into the assignment contract. All right, so the seller contract is what you agree to buy it to the seller for. The assignment contract is what you'll be sending the buyer, who's actually going to be who you're going to be assigning the contract to. So I like to make mine look similar to the TREC. This is literally, as you guys can see, this is a Google Doc. So I got this from a friend of mine and just copied it and PDF'd it, made it a Google document. So this is what I have in there. Be it known, this assignment for option is between a signer, that is you, so whatever your company name is, of whatever the address is, hereby transfer and assign to whoever that buyer is going to be. Okay, so representative option between the seller, name goes right here in my contract. Then I put the address, so just so you guys can see it. Let's give you guys, might help you. The signer of 133 Main Street. Address as a signer, hereby transfer assigned to whoever the buyer is. All my rights and equitable interest in that option between me and Paul Harris, and then whatever that address was would go here. whatever that lot was. I think it was like Howard was the addition. County, I think it was Dallas, can't remember. More commonly known as whatever that address is right here. And I'm putting the full address, but I'm just moving quickly for you guys. So this isn't an hour-long video. I want to make this as quick as possible. And my language is assigner desires to assign to assignee. So for common language, freedom desires to assign to the buyer, and buyer desires to assume all of freedom's rights and obligations as purchaser under the option. Therefore, in consideration, blah, 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 freedom accepts, no, I'm sorry, buyer accepts to execute assignment of contract at whatever title company I had, whatever that address was. Go here. And then assignee agrees to pay assigner. So that means buyer agrees to pay freedom an assignment fee of, and then whatever that amount is, and then I spelled it out right there. In certified funds or for closing date, and then I put my name, my initials, the date, and my name there, and then they do the same. I've been playing with another assignment as contract as well. I want to show you. Here's another one. This is an assignment that we're actually doing right now. Same information, slightly different. So letting them know I started having people do a non-refundable fee, and they put that non-refundable right there. Non-refundables have really been helping because if a buyer doesn't put any money down, then they can freely walk away. So I started doing this. Now I know this says 2020, but I actually started doing those non-refundables a few years ago, but this is that contract right here. So you guys can pause that and copy that same language that you want right there. When that buyer sends you a contract, the important part is that whatever that closing date is on that assignment fee needs to be the same on that buyer's contract, and it needs to be the same date on that seller's contract. So I use 3 pieces of paper: that seller, assignment, and the buyer contract. They all got to have the same closing date. So let's go to a buyer's contract if we use the same initial contract. So if a guy was buying it from me, my name would be here, and then the buyer's name would be here. Now, he wouldn't have and or assigns. If a buyer sends you a contract saying and or assigns, that lets you know that they're going to wholesale your wholesale deal. All right, we definitely don't want that daisy chain. So make sure you read that buyer's contract. So your name is going to be as the seller, their name is going to be as the buyer. It's going to be the same lot, same block. Now the buyer's price is going to be higher than this one. So I think I sold this one to AJ for like 53. So I think I made like $6,000. So their price would be 53 here, 53 here. But it would have the contract, the title company, it would have the address, everything that I've got. They're mirroring your contract so that you can wholesale this. Their earnest money would be, you know, $3,000, $5,000, $2,500, whatever you've got. Agree with them. They're going to be paying the title. So their X would be right here. Same information. They're buying the property as is. It's the exact same contract. All right. Here's something to pay attention to. If they do not have the seller disclosure, make sure you give that to them as well, because if they don't have that, they've got an out to say, I don't want to buy this house. But they are buying the property as is as well. It's just mirroring your contract. Their closing date needs to be the exact same date. So I always let them know, hey guys, we're closing on this house on October 19th, 2018. So make sure your closing date on your contract, Miss Buyer or Mr. Buyer, has October 19th. They're taking possession upon the closing. It shouldn't have any special provisions. So read the special provisions on your buyer's contract to see if they're trying to get any outs there. And then their information is going to be right here on this side, and then your information is going to be right here. All right, and then they'll have the same thing if they got lead-based paint and all that HOA. They'll have the same addendums as well. Termination option. This is something you really want to watch for your buyer, because if your buyer says, give me 15 days, what they're saying is give me 15 days to make a decision if I want it or not. When I wholesale, you have no option period. If you really want to decide if you want to come take a look at that house, what you might want to do is tell your buyers to go take a look at that property. That's your option period. So I always have an inspection, and then some marketing things you could do is send video or take some photos or things like that, or just have a bunch of buyers come to the house. And then whenever you sign it, that's when the executed contract goes, and then you'll be sending that contract to the actual title company. Another thing to pay attention for is if you've got an agent who is representing a buyer, then they're going to put a percentage here sometimes. And if they end up doing that, what they're saying is, let's say you've got $10,000 that you're going to be making on that, but the agent who's wholesaling that property for a company has 3%. What they're saying is they're taking 3% of your $10,000. So make sure you look at that as well, and that's going to be on page 9 of 10. And you can see they'll have all the broker's information and everything right here. So if they're representing a buyer, I'll tell you right there, agents are really good to connect with, because they have people who do want to pay higher than the average investor. So you really got to use your discernment and see if it makes sense for you to do that. All right, guys. So now that we've talked about that, I hope please slow that video down, watch it again over and over so you really get an understanding. These are real 2020 information that I'm giving you guys, how I'm wholesaling these contracts. So now we want to talk about what I'm doing. I'm a concierge service for the seller, because they don't do real estate every day. You do, right? So since you're the expert, make sure your concierge is really going to make the process a whole lot smoother. So get all that paperwork up front whenever you sign in with that. And then what happens is the transition now happens where you let the title company and the seller start having conversations. Hey guys, Mr. Paul Harris, Carrie is going to give you a call today. So as soon as I do that, I send a text message to Carrie and say, hey Carrie, give Paul a call today just to let him know who you are. And the title company is going to be making sure they get all the information they need from the seller. You know, if they have a mortgage and all that, they're doing that. You're not doing that. Don't worry about that. But it's smoother whenever you make that transition to say, all right, Mr. Seller, we got this house under contract. Now what happens is the title company is going to be calling you. You call me if you need anything. I'll check on you every 2 or 3 days to make sure you're good. But the title company is going to be asking for verifiable information for you. So then what happens is now we start to market, and we've got a buyer. We send the assignment in. We send them the assignment. They send us their buyer contract. We make a decision if we want to accept their offer or not. We execute it. We send that to the title company as well. The buyer is going to be sending you they're going to be sending the title company a non-refundable earnest money for whatever your amount is if you do a non-refundables. But you don't have to. I've done it before. Strictly off the strength of relationships and off of being an amateur as well. Then after that, you shouldn't be receiving an option check. You really shouldn't. So if you're working out of a place of need, then I would say beware, because if you could easily end up getting to a buyer who knows more than you, who's going to manipulate you, and you don't want to do. But you got to go through your lessons either way it goes. So every deal's not going to be as easy as I'm sitting here making this video, but this information is going to help you get your paperwork right. All right. So what we're going to do now is, right here is if you're co-wholesaling with somebody, if you're JVing with someone. Here's one that I did, and this is exactly what it looks like. Again, it was just a Word document, guys. It wasn't anything that you find on TREC. There's some great Facebook groups that you guys can go to get copies, but this is the one that I actually use whenever I JV. And just a joint venture co-wholesale has the exact same information, what are the terms of the agreement, what the obligations of the person that brought me the contract, what they're going to be doing, what I'm going to be doing, how we're going to be splitting up the money, what the contract is that they have under with the seller, how much that amount is, and then their signature and my signature. So I don't do a lot of JVs, but when I do, this is the contract that I sent. So that's a little bonus. So now that we've gotten all the contracts sent to the title company, remember this JV, that assignment, all those are getting sent to the title company because you need them to know this is who is involved, this is who's buying it, this is who's selling it, this is my position in the deal, and all that. So you send all that. And now we're going to talk about the process after you send it, the contract. So I'm going to give not two bonuses, but just some additional information, and then we'll go into that. All right. So I showed you how to look up properties in Dallas. You go to dcad.org. If you're looking at properties in Tarrant County, you go to tad.org. This is what it looks like. Just type in your address. As soon as you type in your address, hit search, and as soon as you hit search, it'll take you directly to the property. Simply click on the property account number. This is for Tarrant County, and when you click on that, it'll show you that same information that you saw on DCAD, where the property is, the zip code, what's the address, that lot and that block and that subdivision. All that information is really, really important, the year build of it. So you'll know, okay, this one is older than 1978, so I'll need a lead-based paint addendum on that one. And then here's something as well that I like to look at. I go to Tarrant County Tax Office account information. You can do this on DCAD as well. And then I like to find out if they owe any taxes on the property, because that'll tell me their situation. You can see this person clearly owed some taxes. What I like to do is I like to hit prior years, and then prior years will tell me, see, they owe taxes quite a bit and they haven't been paying for over 3 years. That's a really good indicator to know, oh, this person is in a real hole. They're in real distress. So I need to make sure that I connect with them and solve that problem as well. So you can do the same thing on DCAD. And this is the website for DCAD to look at that right here. DallasAct.com/ all that information right there. And it takes you directly here. You'll be clicking address search. And from here on in, you'll be clicking in the address and it'll show you the same thing. So let's see. I don't even know if I can't remember any property off the top of my head, so hopefully I picked the right street number for this one. Let's see. Oh, all right, great. So we did it. So it'll take you directly to that. You hit account number, just the same way you did in Dallas County. And then current amount due on taxes. It'll tell you right there. So I like to get a taxes due detail year by year. Tell me how long they've been not paying taxes. And we can see right here. So those are two good indicators, two little tips to help you before you had a conversation with the seller. But the title company is going to help anyway. But I know we're talking about a contract, but I just thought I'd give you that little golden nugget as well whenever you're talking to the seller, just to find out a little bit more motivation. All right, guys. So you sent all the contracts that you need. Now, when it comes to closing, how do I get my money? I'm sure that's the question that you're asking. So title companies will have something called a wire transfer authorization they'll send to you. And so you'll be putting your banking information, all that, whatever the bank is, the city, the ABA number or AKA routing number. You'll be filling all that information in right here, and signature and all that. And you'll send that directly back to the title company. And what happens after that is that you will get a HUD. And here it is right here. This is a deal that we closed. And that's my company name right there. And the other company name that I had at the time as well. So, so we got 35, make 35 grand on that particular deal. That gets wired. You do have a choice. If you want to have properties, if you want to have your checks wired, or if you want to pick up a check. For me, I like to have a wire. I wanted checks my first time, and the truth is, they made me wait like 7 to 10 days just to get the $1,000. That's because I had no money. So they was like, we got to make sure this is a real transaction happening. We're not just going to give you this money. So they gave me like $200. So you can start picking up checks if you want, just so you can connect with the title company. But that's really what happens, guys, from A to Z as far as all the paperwork on a typical wholesale transaction. You've got what you need. You guys are ready to go. I think we're almost about 40 minutes in. So I just wanted to tell you thank you, guys. I'm going to send if you guys need that information, look in those show notes. That information is going to be there. I'm going to keep saying that in this video just so you guys know. The information is here. This is how to wholesale properties in Texas using the TREC contract. I hope you guys enjoyed it, man.
Here's one of my middle son right here. This is 7. Say hi. Hi. Hey, so if you're liking anything on this channel, hit that like button, subscribe button. We'll be posting videos every week. Huh? Can I show them my monster check? Before I go, my son wants to show you something, so alright, you can show him. Like my little monster truck. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Dad? Check those out. You guys have a great day. Yes. I wish I did my own car channel. Yes, we'll get you a car channel. Thank you. You're welcome. You guys have a great day. Talk to you soon. I want to tell Mommy.